Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well. How am I doing? This morning I woke up, I felt odd. Like I was living in two worlds and my world was rocking back and forth. I don't know if I was dizzy or what was going on. So I took it steady this morning. It's crazy humid, but it's rainy season, so what can you do? It's getting old, I guess, already. It's still technically rainy season for another month, so can't complain. Otherwise, it might come and get you. I've just been eating some salted bean stuff, Thai snacks. I got a story for you. To me, it's like almost a novel. And this is a story that I experienced, and I want to share it with you. I'm going to go a little bit fast and try to stay on track and no tangents because it's a little bit long, but I'm going to... Okay? Here we go. Part of it you've heard before, but I needed that as a basis for people who haven't heard so I can build on. Deal? So be patient. So, back in the Army days, I was in Germany, and I got told that I'm taking two vehicles down to southern Germany, I guess in an American training area or French training area, I'm not sure. It was an area not familiar to me, but it was about 4 or 5 hours away. So, got the vehicles, took them down south, and when I got there, they didn't need me because they had young officers coming from Sandhurst. So it's like West Point in the US, Sandhurst in the UK. So they were going to do like a final exercise, and they had to guard theater nuclear weapons. And they had all the officers from Sandhurst, adopting different roles. Some were leaders, some were troop commanders, some were infantry, and so on. And then they had the staff running around with them as well, watching them what they're doing. And then I didn't have a job, but the enemy of the young officers were the Gurkhas from Nepal. Okay, I since learned there's a... So when you say Gurkha, that's an area of Nepal. I guess that's where they first started coming from, but now they come from all over Nepal. And also, Nepalese soldiers also do work for the Indian Army, I learned, because I met a guy who was in his 80s. So anyway, there was a break, and the Gurkhas were all sitting underneath a big tree in this field, waiting for the next sort of battle to start. So I went over and I was sitting talking to them, and some of them spoke English. And so I was just sitting there talking and asking them about Nepal, where they're from. And they were telling me, about what they eat and how long it takes to get home, what people do, how poor they are, and for hours we just talked. And I was there for like, I think 3 or 4 days I was there. From what I remember, 3 or 4 days. And every chance I got, I talked to them. And they planted a seed in me to go to Nepal. The stories and the mountains and Mount Everest and the temples and food, everything, I said to them, one day I'm going to Nepal. Anyway, I finished. So that, how many years did I have left? I had about 15 years left, more than, probably 18 years left in the Army. So I finished that. Worked a little bit in the UK, went to the US with my then partner, and we traveled for a while. I bought a house. We were supposed to be doing it up together. Things went south quick, and I just I don't know what my brain was doing, but I just said, something? Life is not for playing games. My life is limited and I have to live it. I don't know what her game was. You know, we had a relationship in the UK. She came. She came to me. I didn't go chase her. She came to me, and then we developed a relationship from there. And you know, everything was good. You know, there was an age gap, but she wasn't bothered, and I wasn't bothered. And anyway, we got together, got married, and then she started playing games. We'll just say that, playing games. Extramarital affairs and things like that. And I had been through this already. I told you this before. And I said, I'm not playing this game. And I just said, I went online. I started looking around. I love photography. And I started looking around, and I was like hooked on Asia. About temples. 2 reasons. 1, the style, and 2, the spiritual. And so I said, I just said to her one day, I said, I'm going to Asia. She says, where are you going? I says, the first time I went to, came here to Thailand for a few days, went to Bali, and then went to Java, and then back to here and back to the US. And then she's still messing around, didn't want to play the game. So I said, okay, I'm off. And I got ready. I didn't think that far ahead, but I didn't think of anything. I just said, I'm off. And I said to her at the airport, I says, I guess you understand that I probably won't be coming back this time. And she cried and she wanted a hug, and then I got on the plane and left. Flew to India and to Delhi, hung out there for a couple months. I think I want to say I stayed there for about a month and a half, probably 2 months. And then I flew to Kathmandu. And I had a friend online. She's married, a teacher. And she had in her house there was a spare room, and I could rent it. So I said, okay. So I went to Kathmandu. Rather than staying in the hotel, I stayed in this room. And she was a teacher. She worked at some kind of institution teaching. She now has 2 master's degrees, one in English and English language and English literature, I think. So, you know, her English is pretty good. She still has a little bit of a dialect, but other than that, her English is good. And her school were tasked to go out to a place called Gulmi. So I'd been hanging around Kathmandu, going off little journeys here and there. And she said where she was going, and I said, she said, would you like to come along? I said, okay. So, you know, no real agenda. And get on a van, and we go by van from Kathmandu to Gulmi. Now I just learned today, because I was looking on Google Maps, that it's 164 kilometers from Kathmandu to Gulmi. It's in the Gulmi province, which is, it's like west of Pokhara. Many people know about Pokhara. In Pokhara, there's you can go out to the, there's a big mountain range there. I forgot it right off the top of my head. Can't remember it right now. Crazy big mountain range that you can walk for days and weeks up in there. I think it's more of walking than climbing. And anyway, it's 164 kilometers, but it takes 12 hours to get there, believe it or not. And you say, how far can it be for 12 hours? So I looked today, and it was 164 miles. And I thought, that's not far, really. It's like 100 miles. And it took 12 hours to get there. But if you see the roads, what an experience that was. I did it a couple times, actually. Here comes some more rain, thunder. I did it a couple times, but it's hard work. Anyway, we get to Gulmi, get into a hotel. I stayed in my room for a while. And I didn't really have a job. Really humid. I didn't have anything to do there, so I walked around, and you can only walk so far. You're in the middle of nowhere. So I went and looked around. And somehow the local high school teacher or local school teacher, the principal, found out about me and asked me to go to his school. So I said, okay, I would. And then we come to an agreement that I would go there and teach the children English. No pay, but he paid for my 1 meal per day and a room in the hotel. And let me just say this. If you've ever been to somewhere like Kathmandu, the hotels are nice. But if you go to Gulmi, you're in survival mode. I can tell you it was rough. You probably look at it and go, I can't sleep here, no way, but I did. I guess because my army days I slept in some odd places. And the people who owned it were really friendly, really nice. The food was good, and I'd walk to school every day. And so when I was there, the school is young. I think it's from like from young people all the way up to about 7th grade, something like that, to about 12-year-old. So they had the main school. They showed me around. I talked to the young people, and I wasn't clicking with the young people at all. So I'm technically I'm a teacher and I can teach, right? So I don't have what they call a certificate of education to teach young children because I'm not really interested in that. I have a teaching certificate for 16 years old and older. So basically I was shown around all the different classrooms, and but I gravitated to the 7th graders who are like 12, and just talking with them and talking about life. And so my point is, the school was open, but it wasn't ready for classes yet. I think there was a gap of about 2 or 3 weeks where people were getting ready and organized and stuff. So I went there and hung out with these young people, and they showed me some of their dances, and I talked to them about life and things like that. And then we slowly got into creative writing, and it was really amazing. I had a couple of incidences like this. One time in Africa, I was in Mozambique and Pemba, and met some people from different parts of Africa, and it was very similar to in Gulmi with these kids. It's like, how can I explain this? It's like your DNA knows you're in the right place at the right time, and literally your skin is like plugged into the wall. It's like you can feel like from day to day you just bumble around and you don't know what you're doing. You do think you're on the right track. You're following your ego. I'm not saying ego negatively, but ego as you identify yourself, right? If I said, who are you? You say, I'm a fireman. Are you really a fireman? Are you a soul experiencing life, and you just happen to be a fireman? So without getting into too much, but I was in this classroom, and I could feel I'm meant to be here. I really enjoyed it. We were vibing together. They were laughing and joking. We hit it off good. And outside, if you come out of the classroom and look away from the school, across the valley, there's it's called it's a hill stroke mountain region. So it's big for big mountains, but no snow. And in Nepal, they say it's not a mountain unless it has snow on it for 365 days a year. That name of that mountain range just popped in my head. The Annapurna Range. Annapurna Range. Okay, so back to that. And we're standing outside and we're looking across the valley, and there's a hill, and there's like on top of there's a house, and then the hill comes down, right? Like a rib or a bone, like a bone hanging off the edge of the mountain sort of thing. And there's a great big purple house up there. So somehow, I don't know where it come from, from somewhere in the depths of Kevin's head, I said, there's a guy over there who in that purple house. He's a big guy with long gray hair and a big long gray beard. And he wears a purple robe. And I was like, and he wears a purple robe. And they're like, really? I said, haven't you seen him? I said, you see that purple house? I said, he lives in that house. Can you imagine what he looks like? He's got long white silvery hair and a long white beard, and he wears a purple robe. You're like, what? I said, what do you think he does every day? Does he have somebody to cook for him, or does he cook for himself? Is he a spiritual guy? You know, Asian people understand what spiritual is, and Nepali do, because, you know, anyway, I said, is he a spiritual person, or is he, what does he do? And so they started talking. I said, okay, quick, go back into class and write me a 2-page story. Quick, don't talk, no thinking, just dump the story that's in your head onto paper. No thinking, just do it. So they ran inside and they wrote the story out, and I said, okay, everybody, you know, I give them like an hour to finish it, and they were like busy beaver and pencils like across the paper. And I said, okay, when you're finished, put your pencil down and look up. There was no time limit. I wanted them to give them time. So they finished. I said, who's happy to read it? One person put their hand up and come up and read their story. Very good. Next one, next one. I think there's like 20 in the class. So the ones who wanted to read it, read it. The ones who didn't have to. But the idea was them to if you can imagine like a wet grass and you're burning it, and there's like or smoke coming from an incense. So to jump onto that creative smoke and follow that and watch that wizard or spiritual guy from the purple house, there was a purple house there, and write it down and just create the story and run. So that was the idea. Anyway, I come in the next day, and they had a blast, right? And I thought it was fantastic. Why did I do that? I don't know. Did I plan it? Nope, it just happened. I guess it's one of those divine moments, right? The next day I come in, the teacher comes in, and he said to me, how did you teach them to write like that? And his eyes were like bug-eyed. He says, how did you teach them to write like that? I said, this is the story. And I was like a little bit shocked, like, what? And he says, can you teach me how to teach the children like that? And I don't remember what I said. I said, just follow your heart, you know, have a kid's heart and dream and write it. And I didn't really know what to say to him, but the kids were, you know, so to put that story in a nutshell is a story that's locked in my head. So you could say from Kathmandu to the mountains of Gulmi to where the wizard is, or you could say Kathmandu to the wizard's house. What do you think? What do you think? I thought that was an amazing time. You know, when I guess I'm not at the point where I'm in the rocking chair and can't move and can't do things, but you know, I'm not getting any younger, and I look back and I think about life, and that was one of my pinnacles of life. And I wasn't a teacher, you could say facilitator. I was just there. I created a story, they grabbed the story, they added to it, and before they could get lost, I said, write it down quick. And I hope somewhere in Nepal there's 20 writers now doing the same thing. Or I was there in about I want to say I've been here 14 years now, so I want to say this was about 16 years ago, and they would have been about 12, so they'll be around 28 now. Yeah, they'd be around 28 now. So they might be teachers, they might be authors, they could be computer engineers, they could be anything. But if I left them with anything, dream big. That's my story. If you're still here, thank you. I love it when you write down still here. Guys, I have a story. Buckets of blessings. rivers of peace, joy, and kindness. May kindness knock your door down and hug you.